Welcome to another CHRO Conversation, hosted by the Center for Executive Succession at the Darla Moore School of Business. I'm your host, Anthony Nyberg, and today we are speaking with Peter Fasolo. Peter is the Executive Vice President and CHRO and a member of the Executive Leadership Team for Johnson & Johnson, a global healthcare company with about 130,000 employees around the world that blend heart, science, and ingenuity to profoundly impact health for humanity while serving more than 1 billion patients each day. Previously, he served as the Chief Talent Officer of portfolio companies owned by KKR. Peter also serves on the boards of Kenvue, HRPA, Tufts University, and Save the Children. Peter, it's great to have you in town. It's truly delightful, and we really appreciate you coming here. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
You and Johnson & Johnson spend a lot of time talking about and thinking about how to really have diverse talent and making sure that you're representing, I presume, customers and shareholders, et cetera. Can you explain a little bit about why that's important to you?
Well, I think you're right to say that we have a proud history of diversity, equity, and inclusion at our company. And for us at Johnson & Johnson, it's very straightforward and simple. We want a workforce that represents the diversity of the patients we serve and the markets we serve around the globe. We want to make sure that innovation is being driven off the insights of our global workforce and leadership. I'm really proud of the history that Johnson & Johnson has had on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And it's not just a workforce agenda, but we want to be able to have solutions and products that impact diverse patient populations around the globe. There's massive healthcare disparities. There is navigational challenges around the world with access to healthcare. If the global pandemic taught us anything, it is that access to healthcare and the personalization of healthcare is everything. It starts at the top. We have one of the most diverse boards of directors. We have a very diverse executive committee at Johnson & Johnson. We ensure that not only we want leaders to see themselves and others around our organization, but we make sure we operationalize it as well. We have operational metrics, we have status reports that we do. We want to make sure that people have access to diverse talent, diverse slates, and outcomes that represent the markets in which we serve. So it is about tone, it's about philosophy, it's about inclusion, but it's also about execution and operating priorities. And again, I'm really, really proud of the work that Johnson & Johnson has done in this area.
You mentioned there that it's about not just inside the organization, but that means also reaching out to patients and healthcare and others out there. How does having a diverse board or diverse executive team or a diverse organization help you recognize these opportunities in the marketplace or these needs?
I think, Anthony, it brings insights from the boardroom into our operating plans and then back out into the markets. You know, J&J serves over 1 billion patients every single day, over 65 markets around the globe. And in large part, that has to do with access to care. I'm really proud of our leadership in the pharmaceutical business, where they grow their business through volume and market access more than price. If you read anything about J&J, you'll see and read our access reports about pricing. We grow volume through access of care in hard to reach markets around the world. And I think those are insights that are provided to us by having diverse leaders from around the globe who understand those market dynamics around the world, who then can bring those insights to how we market products, our clinical trials, the diversity of our patients. And I think it's a really winning formula for the company and for patients.
And related to that, we talked a little bit yesterday about AI and both how it's going to affect HR within the organization, but can you start with how will it affect, from an organization like yours, how will it affect patients?
Yeah, I think it's everywhere, Anthony, as we were talking about last night. The use of AI, machine learning, natural language processing, data sciences. It's revolutionizing healthcare. J&J is moving from a healthcare products company to a healthcare and technology company. So where are we seeing that play out? Well, you're seeing it play out in our med tech business, primarily in surgical robotics. So we have a huge push of the operating suite to ensure that surgery is done with the use of AI, machine learning, visualization, so that you can take an average surgeon and move him or her to the right of the curve. You can take an excellent surgeon and continue to teach and share those insights around the globe. So what we're seeing is software engineers, electrical engineers, visualization engineers are coming into healthcare so that our technologies are smart. So not only are we having artificial knees or hips, for example, but we're putting smart technology on those products so you can get feedback so that your rehab can get better, so that your insights to how you're rehabilitating that much faster. We're seeing it in our pharmaceutical business with the use of AI and data sciences, faster clinical trials, better insights to access to care. It's revolutionizing everywhere in healthcare, and I think it's a really, really exciting time to be in this industry.
It sounds like it. And to be a patient.
Yeah,
actually, it seems good.
That's right. That's right.
So in addition to, from the customer side, how about inside? How is AI going to affect or move careers and employees that you have?
Every person in our company has to be thinking about their job description with technology in mind. Every single one of them has to be thinking how their job is being disrupted by data sciences, AI, digital, and technology. So we're on a quest to make sure that every one of our employees understands and can be skilled in the areas that will make them even more effective. We have a journey going on at J&J that we call J&J Learn. We have digitized now all of our learning and all of our development resources so that our employees can access that real time online. They've been clear with us on what their skills are, their competencies, their career aspirations. We've digitized that. And so now we want our employees to have what I often refer to as a Netflix type of experience, where we can say, Anthony, you've said to us, here are your skills, here are your competencies, here are your career aspirations. We can then validate that by scraping all the data on you, on what's available, and come back to you and say, you may not be aware of this, but here are 10 jobs that you might be interested based on your aspirations and your skill gaps, or here's a gig assignment, here's a grow assignment, so that you can see and navigate your career at J&J with the use of technology, and we can teach you. We have one of our most popular courses now at J&J is Digital Base Camp, where you can go for 8 hours and get your skills up on AI, machine learning, and other technologies. You take a test, you move forward, and our view is we want our associates to be technically savvy in whatever they're doing so we can compete on behalf of patients.
So in addition to me needing to be able to take this course, it sounds like you're saying that rather than the way many people, alarmists, are ruling out or making it the assumption that this is going to eliminate many jobs, you're seeing it as an opportunity for your employees to actually grow and develop their skills.
Absolutely. You can't move away from human judgment. You can't move away from decision making. Now, a lot of the tasks, maybe more mundane tasks or more administrative tasks, can be done even more efficiently with the use of generative AI or ChatGPT. I think that's a good thing. What you do with that output is very, very different. You can't just accept the output and then use that as your decision making. It will allow the associates to have higher quality thinking and higher order processing to take the very efficient methodology that AI or generative AI does and advance us faster, but you still need human judgment on top of it all.
So can you say a little bit more about that? How do you get that balance between the AI, and which often spits out things that are very helpful and interesting, and the human judgment?
Well, even within our own field of HR, for example, we have thousands upon thousands of inquiries every day, policy related or general employee inquiries. Well, that's where AI can be very efficient. We have chatbots and things of that use of technology that can answer things very efficiently. But that doesn't mean just because the answer is given, it's the right answer in the context of the question or the situation the employee may find themselves in. So the associate then has to take that answer and still has to provide their best thinking, their best counsel, their best advice. But now they're using their own time, and I would call it in a higher order way than running around doing administrative issues. And it frees up the capacity and the energy of your workforce to advance more effective solutions while you've got a more efficient baseline along the way.
And related to that, and not just this incredible movement in technology and AI, et cetera, it seems that the pandemic also led employees to think differently about how they want to show up or where they want to work, et cetera. How do you see the workforce changing given all that we've experienced over the last few years?
I think this is one of the most exciting times to really think about new ways of working and the future of work for firms and corporations. If the pandemic taught us anything, it's that it shattered our assumptions about what people may value at work, how they sort their personal, financial, or professional priorities. And people coming out of the pandemic have a different set of expectations for obvious reasons. I think at the beginning of the pandemic, all of us were trying to figure out how do you keep your employees safe. I'm really proud of what Johnson & Johnson has done there. Then it was all about return to the workplace. What are the rules of the game? How do people come back? What are the rules of the game? 3 days in, 2 days off, different hybrid models. The real excitement on this is the future of work. And we've learned a lot during the pandemic. Walls came down. Voices around the globe were heard more easily. When you're time compressed and you have to get to solutions quickly, you go to where the best thinking is. And therefore, I was hearing from employees all around the globe, regardless of organizational level, because you had to get solutions done fast. There was greater cross-collaboration. Hierarchies went down. We had different selling models so that we had less time with physicians, but the use of technology where we could educate through professional development became very, very paramount. I don't want to lose any of that in a post-pandemic world. Cultures are very strong. They spring back on you. So you have to start asking yourself, what do people want? How do they want it? What's the purpose of work? Why do people want to come back to the workplace? It puts an even better or higher premium on managers and leaders. They now have to really think about what does it mean to manage a workforce that's diversified around the globe. Some are in, some are remote. What's the why behind it? Why do we need to collaborate? What are different work flexible styles? I think that's really, really important, and I think the profession of HR needs to be on the cutting edge on new ways of working to meet your employees where they are and to ensure you're creating an environment where they want to be there and collaborate and innovate, because at the end of the day, you need to innovate for us on behalf of patients and our customers.
So I think I've heard you say, if we think about those employees that either are really fighting about not wanting to come back into the office, and I think at J&J you have a strong belief that people should be there sometimes or in the right situations, right? So those that are not wanting to come in, or those that come in and just swipe their badge and then take off again, what's the solution to that?
The solution there is you have to ask yourself, why are employees challenging, in many respects legitimately, the model or the framework that we've put in place? We have manufacturing people who never had the luxury of leaving the workplace. We have people in our clinical labs, never had the luxury of leaving. Our sales associates out in the field, in hospitals during the pandemic. So we have office-based workers that perhaps have a little bit more luxury of what does it mean, how do I come in? And they will legitimately say to me, why 3 days in and 2 days off? How did you come up with that framework? And we have to be able to engage in a very authentic way and meet the conversation where it needs to be, which is collaboration's important to us. Cross-sector and cross-functional meetings matter to us. Innovation is very much a function of the serendipity that often happens when you bring people together. Discussions before a meeting, after a meeting, mentoring, sponsorship, teaching is in the moment. The meeting doesn't end just because the Zoom meeting goes offline. So you have to be able to say, this is why it's important. Now, I'm open for business on different ideas. If we think we can be more effective on 3 weeks in, 3 weeks off, or there's competitive reasons, for example, where job families or certain competitive jobs need different models, we're open for that and we're trying that. We're trying different, what we call A/B models, depending on the location, where our managers have said, we're going to be in on Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. This is when your colleagues are going to be in, but we'll be off the other days. Other organizations or groups within our business are saying, hey, for competitive reasons, we need different models. I think that's really exciting. You have to be willing and open to experiment and yet be very clear based on your culture what you want. And for us at J&J, we think it's really important to have in-person collaboration because of the innovation that we seek to create on behalf of patients. And you have to be willing to engage your workforce and your associates in that debate and dialogue. And I think that's healthy to have.
So switching things a little bit, you were talking about that you at one point had put together a whole board for a new entity or an entity you'd spun out. Yep. What are the key factors that go into having a really efficient, effective board? Yeah,
so you're referring to the separation of our consumer health business that we did back last May. That was a very important strategic move for Johnson & Johnson, historic to say the least. And we were involved in launching really the largest pure play consumer health business out in the marketplace. And it's now close to a $50 billion entity on behalf of the consumers. Very, very exciting time. I was involved in working with the lead chairman on building out a board of directors from scratch. I had never done that in my career. It was a really exciting piece of work. And it started with, what's the strategy of the consumer health spin? It's called, the name of the company is now called Kenvue. We had to ask ourselves, what's the strategy of the firm? Where are they going? What are the emphasis of their particular areas? And then what kinds of skills do you need to surround the management team? Digital, innovation, people practices, other areas. And then we went out and started meeting with potential board members who could fill out that skills matrix. And it was very much like filling out a puzzle. And you would slot individuals in, and then based on who said yes, you would build that out. And I'm very, very proud to say we built out a board of directors of 7 independent board members. A few of us came over from Johnson & Johnson, and now we have a public company board of directors we put together in about 6 months. It was exhilarating work, it was exciting, but it was a bit of art and science and puzzle making.
And are there really unique challenges to putting together a board in the healthcare space?
Well, I think it's unique in the sense that you have to see the strength of your management team and then surround the management team with a group of really strong, experienced advisors who can complement what does it mean to work in a capital market? How do you deal with Wall Street? And so we brought in skills which complemented our management team in digital, supply chain, global nature, to make that management team have access to really good experienced CEOs or CTOs so that they could be even more effective in growing their business over time. And I think it's as much of as I said, an art as it is a science, because chemistry matters, board culture matters. It was very important for us to have a board that was a servant leadership model, that was humble, that understood the parameters of what does it mean to be a board member, but not running the business. And as we know, those lines sometimes blur. So board chemistry, board culture became as important, if not more important, than the skills we were bringing around the table.
And we hear a lot about culture and the importance of culture, and J&J's had a long storied history. How do you nudge a culture if you're trying to, or how do you just ensure that it fits what you're looking for when you are a massive global company with operations and patients all around the world?
Well, if anyone knows anything about J&J, you know about the strength of our values as expressed in our credo. And I'm very proud to say that we're celebrating the 80th anniversary of our credo this year. J&J has been around for 134 years. It's one of those classic built to last companies. At the core of the company is a set of values that are expressed in our credo. And it says very, very simply, in a little over 300 words, what our obligations are, first to our patients, healthcare providers, mothers and fathers, who we have the privilege of providing our services and products to. Second paragraph is our investment behind our employees, an inclusive environment, a fair environment, one that they can grow their careers. We also are obligated to give back to our communities. Our belief is if you do those things in that order, the shareholders will get a fair return. That was written 80 years ago. And at the essence, our credo is about servant leadership. That is as relevant today as it was 80 years ago. So how do you keep a company, the largest, most broadly based healthcare company, how do you keep that all together? A North Star, our credo. So I can feel really comfortable as the head of HR that the thousands upon thousands of decisions that are being made every single day by our associates are demonstrating really good judgment that's ethical and consistent with our credo, because we work our credo every day. We talk about it, we select for it, we survey our employees, are we living up to the values of our credo? We course correct if we see that we're not in the right place. You keep a company of our size together, not by culture. We have different cultures throughout our organization. We have one North Star of values and purpose and mission, and that's how you keep a company like ours that's built to last. It's based on values.
That's a really nice way to hear it, of having a clear North Star for everyone around the world from decision makers. So I know I've got to get you off to our students, and again, thank you for coming here.
Great, thank you for the invitation. I'm excited about today. Thank you, thank you.
You just listened to another CHRO conversation. Today, Peter Fasolo of J&J shared, among a number of topics, his views regarding what HR needs to do to drive organizational success, and his thoughts on areas where we need to be thinking about the ethical adoption of AI. He also shared his views on how we can facilitate creating successful boards of directors. On behalf of all of us who are associated with the Master of Human Resources program and the Center for Executive Succession here at the University of South Carolina, thank you for joining us.